What's up, everybody? We are freestyling it this time. I just got an email. First, it's my fault. Okay. I remember last Sunday, the pastor telling us that it was potluck this week, right? But we get an email at 8:50. Pastor Seth, come on, 8:50 at night, the night before church. So I got to run to the grocery store. I had a lot of technical difficulties today, but neither here nor there. This is interesting because it is about Satan's little season. There are people out there that think after the millennial reign of Christ, it's in the Bible, it says there's going to be this little period where Satan is let out and loosed, right? And they believe that we're in that season right now. They believe a lot of stuff. I want to do a little documentary on it. I find it fascinating. I don't believe it, and I'll tell you why. That's why I want to do the documentary. But they believe that right now Satan runs the world, right? And history itself has been altered. It hinges on this fact that history has been altered, right? We're talking about history being altered so much that the Dark Ages weren't really the Dark Ages. They were a time of prosperity, right? And in that time is when Jesus reigned. At this point, this is where it can fly off the hinges, right? But the basic principle is Jesus reigned, and then somehow, for some reason, the Bible doesn't tell us why, but the devil gets loosed, right? We don't know why. There's theories. I want to go over those theories as well in this little doc that I have planned. So the devil is running the world, and he has erased history. Now, how did he erase history? There was a giant mud flood, right? As soon as he got loosed out of the pit, mud everywhere, mud flood everywhere. And so it kind of like went above certain areas, over buildings and whatnot. And the point and proof of these people is that there's buildings that have their first floor, what looks to be their first floor, and sometimes second floor, completely covered in sediment. Like, it's deep. It's kind of creepy. It's really interesting. And there's a lot of pictures like this. And then they have pictures like in San Francisco, there's an old panoramic view, right? With nobody in the city. Now, the explanation behind this is that it was done with the different shutter speed. No, what's it called? When it takes a long exposure or something like that. So all the people are missing, but there's no cars in the picture. There's no people. Super creepy picture. We'll bring that up too later on when we go in more depth about this. But back into the time period of now is we are apparently in altered history timeline. Everything you know is a lie. Things like the World's Fair in Chicago was actually old world buildings that had the power of free energy. So they somehow they think that there was free energy in the world, and people were harnessing it in these specific building types. That's why you see the building types all across the world that are very similar, which it is creepy. So this is the allure of the theory. So places like the World's Fair were supposedly an old world building that got taken down, and all the fires in history. I don't know if you know about American history, but there was tons of fires. Tons of just melting cities, like a ridiculous amount in the early 1900s. Well, that happened supposedly to erase the history of the buildings. So they also say that there's not that many construction videos, or construction pictures, and that all the construction pictures that you see are fake. There is one out there. Well, a couple of them out there are a little suspicious. The Mormon, Salt Lake City Mormon, temple. It's ginormous. It is massive, and it was built over a course of years. But there's a couple construction photos, but they're suspect, man. I don't know if it's just because they're old, but they're super suspect. So because of these old photos that are suspicious, and because of these buildings that have mud, they believe the timeline has been distorted, and all of Roman history has been jumbled up, right? So what you know as like the time of one Roman emperor, and there's another time, I don't know, 250 AD of another Roman emperor, all these times have been expanded, and all these like cataclysms, right? All the bad things really happened at once. And when it did happen, it was part of Revelation that people think hasn't happened, like the futurists. So they think that Jesus already came back, right? A lot of people point to 70 AD when the temple was destroyed. Where this really gets off the hinge is that there's some people out there that believe Jesus is at the North Pole right now. And the reason why they think Jesus is at the North Pole is because there's this, on maps, there's this, Rogue Mount, I don't know what it's called, but there's this mountain, Black Mountain on maps in the North Pole. It's supposedly 33 miles wide, and it was in a bunch of maps. They say that where that mountain is where Jesus is, right? Was. Now let me tell you why. So you know how the magnetic poles are shifting, right? So those magnetic poles are actually pointing to Jesus, they say, right? Because all things point to Jesus. So because Jesus is floating in the North Pole with the camp of saints, right? And because the magnetic pole is shifting, but now it's going faster, right? It's actually Jesus. And in Revelation 20 something, when there's a war made with the camp of saints, right? There's this massive, Jesus comes down with New Jerusalem. There's this massive war with the camp of saints. What that is, they say it's actually the magnetic North Pole that Jesus is living on that's going to float all the way over to Siberia, the broad plane of the earth, and then there's going to be a war. You know how there's a war? Well, this is one of the coolest parts. I want to save this, but I'm not. So the war happens because Americans, right, have been getting all these UFO things. There's two types of people. There's the people that think everything is a scam, right? It's a hologram and it's not real. And then you have the people that actually believe it's aliens, right? So these two people are the main two groups that they're going to prey on, because this broad plane of the earth, and you have the New Jerusalem floating over it, coming down over the broad plane of the earth, and war happening. People are going to say that's aliens, but it's really Jesus, they say. We're going to end up fighting the aliens, but it's Jesus, supposedly. And because everyone thinks that they think that we're getting scammed, so when there's actual like war going on, they're gonna be like, oh, it's real, and then they're gonna tell them to go kill the aliens, and it's supposedly Jesus. And then the other people that think it's aliens, they're gonna freak out anyways, and they're gonna want to kill Jesus. That's not it. This is their theory. So it's extremely interesting, and I was wondering if you guys are interested in hearing about that. I say you guys, I don't know, 100 or so people. I really want to do a little documentary on it, because there's really nobody that's covered it. So we'll talk a little bit more on it. I gotta get to the store and buy this food so I can cook it, and have some food tonight because I'm hungry. But appreciate you guys. I just want to throw something together and get it out there. If you do like this type of video, then tell me, right? I have different types of videos as well, and I'm going to make better types of videos, more time. It usually is just one day. If I take a couple weeks, I've got another channel where I did a doc that's pretty good. I might link it, but probably won't. So doesn't matter, guys. You just let's love each other. Let's not really think everybody's crazy, right? Even though everybody is crazy, but let's try not to think that. And these theories are super cool to talk about. We don't have to believe in them. So until the next time, bye.